those songs, but somebody else next time. All right, hey, happy Father's Day, everybody. Did I say something? All right, so we're running a little behind on Father's Day. It's become sort of a custom for me to do some dad jokes, but I feel like there's not enough time for dad jokes. We have to get serious here this morning. We have time for maybe just a few. All right. You knew I was going to do it anyways, right? Anybody care for some dad jokes? All right. Let's see. They're not all good, but all right. I wrote a song about a tortilla. Well, actually, it's more a rap. I'm going to save this one. I'm going to save this one for later. All right. Oh boy. Is this? I don't know if this is church appropriate. What do you get when you? It's so good though. What do you get when you mix alcohol with literature? Tequila Mockingbird. Right? That's a good one. Right? Oh my gosh. Oh, sorry. All right. Tequila Mockingbird. Oh, I don't know if you like. I recently lost my mood ring. I'm not sure how I feel about that. It's funnier because I'm a man. I need a ring to tell me how I feel. All right. Renee liked this one. What kind of so blame her. What kind of shoes does a frog wear? Open toed. This one's not that funny, but it's Bible related, so I had to throw it in here. What kind of lights did Noah have on the ark? You're gonna be upset. Floodlights. You like that more than I thought you would. All right. Did you hear about the Italian chef who passed away? Sorry. Did you hear about? I read it wrong. Did you hear about the Italian chef who died? He passed away. Yeah. Is that because I botched it, or is that because you think it's racist? Okay. You can't say that. Well, I did. I don't know. Let's get it. Most people are shocked when they find out how bad an electrician I am. If you ever feel cold, just stand in the corner. They're usually 90 degrees. This one's dumb, but I think you'll like it. I don't know what that means. I don't mean that. It sounded not as bad as it sounds. The group dynamic, I think. All right, well, moving on. I just burned my Hawaiian pizza. I should have put it on aloha temperature. Get it? I should have put it on aloha temperature. It's hard to read. This is too many already, but I want to keep going. I'll talk fast for the rest of it. I wanted to learn how to drive a stick shift, but I couldn't find a manual. I hate how funerals are always at 9 a.m. I'm not really a morning person. That's too soon. See, it's morning is spelled M-O-U. See, it's the morning. Okay. No. I got hooked on going to auctions after only going once. You saw it. I went on a once-in-a-lifetime vacation. Never again. Okay, and then finally, what does the thesaurus eat for breakfast? Synonym toast crunch. I did it! I said it! I didn't say it before. It's hard to say. What does the thesaurus eat for breakfast? Synonym toast crunch. I did it twice. All right. So, all right, everybody's all right? Oh, we also have another contest. Did the guys fill out a piece of paper? I don't know if we're prepared for this. We fill out a piece of paper, throw them in an offering plate, because we have a drawing later. All right, we didn't do it. We're unprepared because I didn't tell anybody. What did we do? What can we do to make it happen? What do you have? You have a piece of. Oh, you have all the pieces of paper. Okay, I'm like you can't. Okay, you're providing for us. All right, so
I'm just going to put my name on it.
Yeah, right. And you had a whole bunch. Like, not only are you not a father, but you had a whole stack. Like, that doesn't seem fair at all. All right, so Dan is going to hand the dads. If you're the dad, I'm going to raise your hand. He might not know you or whatever. Jot your name down there. We'll throw it in the offering plate. And then we'll do a drawing later. Our gift, what's our drawing? They were up here somewhere. We have gift cards. Oh, okay, here we go. Check this out. We have Ace. Awesome, right? Ace, right? And we have Tractor Supply. So Tractor Supply or Ace. So jot your names down, guys, and then we'll throw it in an offering plate at some point. That seems good. Should we do that now? You ready? Yeah. It shouldn't take you long to think of and write down your name. The first Friday of every month at Ace, there's a 20% military discount. So take your friends who were in the military and have them go. That's cool. They do that. God bless the veterans. All right. Okay. So as we're collecting names, we won't take the time to show you how this works. Thanks, Kenny. We'll just draw some. We'll draw some names later. Thanks, Dan. Appreciate you. We got it. We're done. We did it. We're good. All right. Okay. So I heard. God bless you for being here this morning. So I heard I was tough on the guys last week. You think I was tough on the guys? Did I tell them the guys last week? Oh, good point. All right. Hang on a second. All right. And then. They'll be a little stirred. All right, so who do you think said I was hard on the guys? It was the ladies that said I was hard on the guys. So there was one lady, she might even speak up, I don't know. By the way, if you're cold in here this morning, just move to the corner. It's about 90 degrees. I'm reading the room. So one of the ladies was like, man, you really give it to the ladies next week. Boy, I don't think I was that hard on the guys, but challenge the guys. I'm not gonna be tough on the ladies, but it is Father's Day. All right, so we're doing a series on family, on marriage, and relationships. God love single people. This is gonna be helpful and useful for you too as well. Once again, my disclaimer is this is generally the case for a great many men. It's not always the case. Everybody's different, but we're gonna make some generalizations, and we might not always get your situation exactly right. I want to begin with a story this morning. I pulled this from one of I lost count how many relationship books, marriage books I'm reading right now. Well, not reading, but skimming through. All right, so imagine a knight in shining armor traveling through the countryside. Suddenly he hears a woman crying out in distress. In an instant, he comes alive. Urging his horse to gallop, he races to her castle, where she is trapped by a dragon. The noble knight pulls out his sword and slays the dragon. As a result, he is lovingly received by the princess. As the gates open, he is welcomed and celebrated by the family of the princess and the townspeople. He is invited to live in the town and is acknowledged as a hero. He and the princess fall in love. A month later, the noble knight goes off on another trip. On his way back, he hears his beloved princess crying out for help. Another dragon has attacked the castle. When the knight arrives, he pulls out his sword and slays the dragon. He pulls out his sword, to slay the dragon. Before he swings, the princess cries out from the tower, "Don't use your sword, use this noose. It will work better." She throws him the noose and motions to him instructions about how to use it. He hesitantly follows her instructions. He wraps it around the dragon's neck and then pulls hard. The dragon dies and everyone rejoices. At the celebration dinner, the knight feels he didn't really do anything. Somehow, because he used her noose and didn't use his sword, he doesn't quite feel worthy of the town's trust and admiration. After the event, he is slightly depressed and forgets to shine his armor. A month later, he goes on yet another trip. As he leaves with his sword, the princess reminds him to be careful and tells him to take the noose. On his way home, he sees yet another dragon attacking the castle. This time he rushes forward with his sword, but he hesitates, thinking maybe he should use the noose instead. In that moment of hesitation, the dragon breathes fire and burns his right arm. In confusion, he looks up and sees his princess waving from the castle. "Use the poison," she yells. "The noose doesn't work." I know, right? She throws him the poison, which he pours into the dragon's mouth, and the dragon dies. Everyone rejoices and celebrates, but the knight feels ashamed. A month later, he goes on another trip, and as he leaves with his sword, the princess reminds him to be careful and to bring the noose and the poison. He is annoyed by her suggestions, but brings them just in case. This time on his journey, he hears another woman in distress. As he rushes to her call, his depression is lifted, and he feels confident and alive. But as he draws his sword to slay the dragon, he again hesitates. He wonders, should I use my sword? Should I use the noose? Or maybe the poison? What would the princess say? For a moment, he's confused, but then he remembers how he had felt before he knew the princess, back in the days when he only carried a sword. With a burst of renewed confidence, he throws off the noose and poison and charges the dragon with his trusted sword. He slays the dragon, and the townspeople rejoice. People rejoice. All right, sorry, I thought I jumped ahead in my notes. The knight in shining armor never returned to his princess. He stayed in the new village and lived happily ever after. He eventually married, but only after making sure his new partner knew nothing about nooses or poisons. All right, so that's funny, kind of. But there's many lessons to be learned there. So I want to take you to 1 Corinthians 13. We looked at this a couple times. When I started this series, I was like, man, it's tough to get, like, the Bible has some things to say about relationships, about marriage, but it doesn't have a lot to say. It does have a lot to say about interactions with people and how to treat one another. And so there's many things, tons of things on that. But the marital relationship itself, it's just hard to find verses that say in a marriage, and there are some. The Bible does address it. So I started off slowly, trying to, get going, and then I accumulated more and more material. And now I could do this for a year, but I'm done. I'm over it. Let's quit. It's enough already. So this will be our last one. But this is important this morning. I shared with you last week and it's hard to put these things in order, because I'm looking, this week I looked at like 3 different relationship and marriage books. And so now I'm more confused than ever. Come on, somebody, right? And I learned so much. I learned more than I expected to learn. Here's one thing I learned, that people use different words for the same thing. Because if this guy says these are the most important things in order, 1, 2, and 3, and the next author writes those same exact words in that same exact order, there's really no use for this book. So he's got to change the words and switch the order around a little bit. You know what I mean? So I'm reading 3 books, I'm like, all these ideas are sort of present, but the order in which they are present kind of floats around. And the words that are used, sort of like, the synonyms that we talked about before. All right, so we looked at 1 Corinthians chapter 13, and I can't revisit what love means this week, but love is patient, the scripture says. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. There's so much here. I should just say, this is not the test of love. This is how you act when you are committed in a loving relationship. Right? This is agape love. This is a decision of the mind more than the expression of the heart. So love is patient. So if you're not patient, it doesn't mean you're not in love. It means that if you've committed to that person, then you got to figure out how to be patient, right? Love is kind. So maybe you're not naturally kind. Not with this person and not with the last one. But you'll figure it out because you gave them your heart. All right? So these are are actions and attitudes that you take. They're not natural responses. So it goes on. Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. We're reading the same version. Good. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices in the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, and always perseveres. And then Paul says, love never fails. And I'm going to jump to Ephesians 5:33, one of the lengthier passages where the New Testament just talks about in a marriage. These are some things you need to keep in mind. Ephesians 5:33. Paul writes, however, each one of you must also love his wife as he loves himself. That's interesting. It's not just as much as he loves himself. The actual Greek word there is emphasizes the marital union and the relationship that the two become one. And in the Greek, it actually says something like a husband must love his wife as he loves himself, not in the same way that he would love himself, but as though she were a part of him. So if you take care of yourself, which men are pretty good at taking care of themselves in some ways, at least making themselves comfortable, treat her that way, right? I have to put a caveat on that. In some ways, they're not good at taking care of themselves. That's why they need someone around to remind them to take their pills or whatever. And then it says the wife must respect her husband. So in 1 Corinthians 13, verse 4, it said one of the descriptions of what love should do is that it does not dishonor others. And one definition of that is a failure to show respect. And so Ephesians says, and I heard someone on Focus on the Family many, many years ago was talking about Ephesians 5:33 and said, it's just how men and women are built. Like women need love like they need air to breathe. By the way, I don't want to revisit everything, but some people haven't been here for this whole time. Men and women have the same needs, but they have them in different percentages, right? So men need love too, as we will see. I love that Paul emphasized, husbands, love your wives. I read some amazing stuff that I'd never seen before about the ancient world and how women were treated. It's worse than we thought. I don't want to say I was shocked, but I don't have time to give you all that, but women were treated pretty poorly outside of Judaism in the Greek and the Roman world. And then you get to the rest of them, it doesn't get any better. So telling the husband to love his wife as he loves himself is huge. It is huge. It is like we read that and go, yeah, well, he should, I deserve it. And if you put it in the context of when Paul said it, he was a radical, crazy man. That's a radical thing. So then it goes on to say the wife must respect her husband. And so the same guy I heard years ago said that men need respect like they need air to breathe. Men need love, but respect might trump it just a little bit. Women need respect too. The Bible says that husbands should respect their wives as well, right? So we need all of these things. But I do think it's true, and I've floated this idea a number of times, and the ladies seem to agree, that respect is a powerful thing for a man, and as is love for a lady. I've noticed it in my parenting. I think I've shared this with you before. When the kids, sometimes Renee might be hesitant, depends on who the kids made angry, right? She might be hesitant and to discipline them, and very often it's she doesn't. I don't know if it's conscious. She certainly doesn't say it, but it's like she doesn't want to lose their love. Like, what if I damage the relationship with them? And it depends on what happened. But if it's a disrespect situation, I'll just tell you, I don't know about you, Dad, men, but if it's a disrespect situation with the children, I'm like, I don't really care so much about the relationship. Yeah, if something happens to the relationship, I'm willing to live with that. But I will not tolerate disrespect. Hear the guys laughing? I think I'm onto something. Like, I want my kids to love me, but okay. And so last week, I didn't try to beat up on the guys, but maybe I thought they could take it. And we talked about how men sometimes might be tempted to say, well, I'm just not an affectionate guy. And I think I did pretty strongly say, well, you better figure that out. Like, you better figure out how to be affectionate. I don't know how that's going. I hope it's going well. You need to do it. It's not your personality type. Well, I took this test, and I'm, this personality type. If you're married, you are the source of affection. Did I say affection? There's a lot of words floating around my head this morning. You'll see what I mean. So affection is important, and it's almost like you're loving her as yourself, because life is better for you if you shower her with affection. There's probably a point where she goes, enough already, all right? Don't listen to Patty. He overdid it. All right. And probably some guys were shocked by that, and some guys already forgot what we talked about last week. But this morning, I want to submit to you that maybe, I don't know, maybe a lot of ladies don't recognize how important this is to men. And so, so I said I'm looking at a lot of different sources. The Bible, of course, refers to respect, and I'm reading different books, and one has this and this, and they're all in different orders. But a lot of these words mean the same thing, and I found them using them interchangeably. So they might say respect, and then later down in the paragraph, they use a different word. So I'm going to use different words. They're not exactly the same thing, but some of these words are part of the definitions of these other words. Let me give you an example. So one definition for respect is a feeling of, and I know, I'm going to address it, so I already know what you're going to think. A feeling of deep admiration for someone or something elicited by their abilities, qualities, or achievements. So admiration is a part of at least this definition of respect. So one of the books says admiration is one of the things that men need. Well, that's sort of involved as part of respect. It's almost like respect encompasses these other things. So then, just for kicks, I looked up the definition of admiration, and lo and behold, I found other words that were kind of used interchangeably. Admiration, a feeling of strong approval or delight with regard to someone or something. All right? So what was, under respect, there was an A word, a feeling of deep what? Good to know you're listening. Admiration. Right? Now, ladies are, relationship stuff, I think comes more naturally to them. The guys need to be taught more. I don't know if every lady knows how important admiration is. And frankly, guys are ashamed to admit it. All right, we'll get to that in a minute. So respect, admiration, the word approval came up a lot, that a husband needs to know that his wife approves of him. And we'll get into the details of that in a moment. And you'll see that this is more powerful than we may have imagined. And frankly, your husband probably doesn't even know, right? He doesn't get it. He knows what hurts him. He knows what wounds him, but he couldn't maybe necessarily describe what that thing is. Just like last week, I kind of said to the ladies, and I don't know if the ladies have this problem, but maybe it's just me. But I will warn the guys as I go through this. Your job is not to make a list. Remember Corinthians 13. Make no record of wrongs. Don't hear the list when I give examples and go, ugh, I never get that. Oh, she doesn't do it. Like, you didn't even know before today, okay? And you didn't even know what it was. Like, I can help you put a word to it. But don't get mad. You didn't even know this, right? I know when I read stuff like this, I should only read how to make the wife happy, right? Because I'm preparing sermons or whatever. And I read the stuff. This is everything a man needs. It's easy to begin to go, I never did that. Well, she's not very good at doing it. So don't do that. Fight that, okay? This is not so that you can recall you were perfectly fine before you got here. This is not so that you can recall all the injustices that you've endured as a result of your uncaring wife, right? So resist that. Maybe it's pointless for me to say that, but I feel it sometimes rising up in me. And no man really appreciates it. Yes, we do. And you know what? Oh, wait, I'm preparing a sermon. I shouldn't take that attitude when I'm preparing a sermon. All right. So he may not tell you this, but here we go. So when I say respect. I am not talking about, I said it funny further down my notes. How did I say it? I am not talking about, I'm not talking about like, hey, fetch me my slippers. I don't know where that came from. That's not weird. If that's the image, and we're gonna try to shatter that image. If that's the image of respect, like if there's a recoil of respect, and we're not talking about a domineering, nasty, abusive jerk. We're not talking about that. We're not talking about you worshiping him. That would be weird and wrong on so many levels. And you'll see. So if you're resistant, and I doubt that you are, but if you're resistant to the word or the idea of respect for your husband, give me a minute and let me show you what happens inside when a man feels disrespected or not respected. So we're not talking about a knuckle-dragging Neanderthal. You with me? We're not talking about that. We're really talking about a tough guy who is super weak and frail and fragile, and his ego is really, really easily damaged. That's really what we're talking about. We're not talking about dominance or anything like that. So if that's your image, I would encourage you, leave that behind. All right, so I've got some quotes here because I'm not the expert. But he may not tell you this, but your husband actually wants you to be proud of him. Now, that doesn't sound like a knuckle-dragging Neanderthal. It sounds like a little boy looking for approval, right? But he wants you to be proud of him. He won't tell you that. Ladies, you can ask him after church. I don't know, proud, whatever. I don't know. That's a defense mechanism. That proves that I'm right. When he says it's not true, that proves that I'm right. I should use that every time. That's pretty good. Like this. How do you wrestle your way out of that? All right. So deep inside every man, there is a hero or a knight in shining armor. More than anything, he wants to succeed in serving and protecting the woman he loves. Right? More than anything, he wants to serve and protect the woman he loves. That's not so bad, right? That's pretty good. So I've got several quotes floating around. I'm not sure who said this. I think this is Harley, who we heard from a lot last week. Honest admiration, we'll get to the honest part. Honest admiration is a great motivator for most men. Listen to the words that I'm using. Honest admiration is a great motivator for most men. When a woman tells a man she thinks he is, I almost changed this because it feels too strong. But it's a quote, so I'll just leave it. When a woman tells a man she thinks he's wonderful, check this out. That inspires him to achieve more. He sees himself as capable of handling new responsibilities and perfecting skills far above those at his present level. That inspiration helps him prepare for the responsibilities of life. Now, preachers like words, as you probably know. I want to go back and recap some of the key words here. So, admiration is, of course, and admiration is wrapped up in respect. He says it's a great motivator for men, right? So it motivates men to actually be better when they feel admiration. When a woman tells, I'm just doing words, inspires. It inspires him to achieve more. Wow. She really does like me. I think I will do more for her. Amazing, right? He will achieve more. Capable. He becomes capable of handling new responsibilities and perfecting skills above those at his present level. And it helps him prepare for the responsibilities of life. You say, we've been married 35 years. I'm still waiting for him to become responsible, right? And maybe that's, that maybe not, we can't completely address that this morning. All right. So a couple of things that I found that I jotted down, and this seems really strong. Like as a guy, we don't really need this, but I think we do. All right? A husband needs his wife to be his biggest fan. Now, hey guys, by the way, guys, happy Father's last week you thought I was tough on you. I said you need to shower your wife with more affection, give her more affection. And she, she will let you know when it's too much. And I thought, you know what? Like maybe I was tough on the guys. Like it doesn't come very naturally to us. And then some guys, it's weird and it feels even vulnerable and like threatened by it. So there's levels, but at least you can go through the motions, right? Like you need the list. I understand. I need the list too. Like you need the list. Here's how to show affection. What is it? How do you do it again? So here's the list. All right, I need the list. Okay. But at least you can just go. I read the list, tuck it in your pocket real quick before she walks in the room and give her a big hug, right? You can do that. What we're asking of the ladies is really, I think this might be tougher. Maybe probably not for the ladies in this room. But this is like deep, personal. Like if a man feels threatened vulnerable by telling his own wife that he loves her, maybe that's why you said I felt it was tough on him. His own wife, gosh. Maybe I was tough on him. How would it be for a woman to begin to admire is a strong word, show admiration for a man that she really doesn't respect? That's asking a lot, right? Like I would much rather be more affectionate than I don't want to say show admiration. That sounds weird. All right, but you get the idea. I think this is deeply personal and maybe difficult for the ladies to do. But like last week, if you do it, it's good for you, right? Another quote. I don't remember who said it. Admiration energizes and motivates men. So, well, he just needs to get more motivated. You hold the key, right? Congratulations. Admiration energizes and motivates. And then, this is amazing, he draws confidence from his wife's support. Right? Like, I don't remember the exact situation, otherwise I would tell you. But I know that there have been times where I was down, like, I don't know if I should do this. And Renee, who's a supportive, a great wife, but said, like, you know what, you're good at that. You can really do that. And like that, just like the switch flipped. Like, yeah, you know what, I can do that. She said it sincerely, and I don't remember the situation, but I remember that it's happened. And the courage and the confidence and the strength that gave me when she sincerely believed in me, that was the difference between taking action and doing nothing. All right? So he draws confidence. Again, focus on words. Confidence. You want a confident man? All right. He achieves more with her encouragement. He achieves more. Admiration. One author went on to say, admiration not only motivates, so it encourages future conquests, right? Not only motivates for future, but also rewards the husband's existing achievements. It's also a reward for him. So he's being rewarded for what or who he's been thus far, and also inspires, motivates, drives him to be better and to achieve more. And when I say achieve more, I'm not talking about accomplishing, curing cancer or climbing Mount Everest or whatever, but to be a better husband, a better father, whatever. Okay, so I think this is important. So I'm going to rely heavily on these other quotes so that I don't get it wrong and that you only blame the original author, not me. Okay. A woman needs to appreciate, again, that's kind of wrapped up, so to change all these words, but it's the same idea. A woman needs to appreciate her husband for this is hard, what he already is. I mean, maybe it's hard. What he already is, not for what he could become. That speaks to this approval idea, which we'll come back to. Not for what he could become if he lived up to her standards. So, let me say that again. A woman needs to appreciate her husband for what he already is, not for what he could become if he lived up to her standards. I don't want to get into it, but a lot of times just the communication part. If a wife expresses her displeasure through no fault of her own, he receives it as she disapproves of him as a person. Not, I didn't like this action that you took. Not, you disappointed me. Not, it hurts me when you do this. He very often feels that I disapprove of you as a person. I made a mistake. I chose poorly. I would be happier if I had married someone else. So that's the messages that a man gets if he feels that his wife does not approve of him. Now, in case I forget to say it, let me say it now. I might come back to it. I'm trying to be quick. But in case I forget to come, that doesn't mean she has to agree with everything he says. Doesn't mean that she doesn't get an opinion. Doesn't mean that he's always right. Certainly not. Doesn't mean any of those things. It just means that when she expresses her displeasure or dissatisfaction or that he hurt her or whatever, I don't have time to get into maybe ways that you could say it or whatever. But understand that very often he feels, not because she's doing anything wrong, it's just the difference between men and women. He very often feels she made a mistake in picking me. That's a powerful thing. So it's approval of who he is without her trying to change him. Now he might need some fixing up. You with me this morning? You might need some fixing. And there are ways to do that. So again, that doesn't mean he's always right. Doesn't mean you always agree with everything he says. That doesn't mean he's a brilliant genius. It just means that you can disagree with his ideas, his thoughts, his attitude, whatever he did, and the dopey thing that he said. And you don't have to take it, and you don't have to like it. But understand that if we can learn to communicate, I still approve of you as, like, I don't want to trade you out for somebody else. Like, but here's something that hurts me, and this is something that you need to work on, right? So, ladies, you're not hearing that you have to agree with everything. You can never voice your opinion. I didn't say that, right? You're getting that, right? Okay, we don't make that clear. But maybe I do you a disservice by not taking the time to walk through. Here's kind of how to do that, but the time doesn't permit for that. All right. So approval and appreciation he already is, not for what he could become if he lived up to her standards. And by the way, women do improve men, right? They make us better. We do improve. We have better habits, but we're still the same people. All right. For some men, admiration also helps them, check this out, believe in themselves. Like they have low self-esteem. Like they were raised they don't have good self-esteem. And so a lot of men, not only does the wife not believe in him, he doesn't believe in himself either. But she can encourage him and strengthen him and cause him to actually, in these words, help him to believe in himself more. Isn't that a beautiful thing? Like, wow, what? And when I read this, I just go, I'm not that weak. I'm a man. I'm not even the manliest of men, but I'm still a man. I don't need all that junk. That's a defense mechanism. Yeah, yes, we do. I'm reading this, and I'm like, I did not know this about myself. But as I read, but something rings true. I'm like, that makes sense to me. All right. So here's what happens. Not if the woman's disrespectful. That's not how we're teaching it here at Lakeside Family Church, right? But when a man feels disrespected, here's what happens, right? We already talked about don't associate disrespect. Hey, don't disrespect me, woman. I'm glad you laughed at that. That sounds ridiculous. If you say that, guys, you sound ridiculous, right? A good husband won't say, don't disrespect me, woman. Like Mr. T. Was it Mr. T? That's what I heard. I must have been a good impression. You got Mr. T out of that. But what I really hear is that men are more fragile and frail and vulnerable and easier to wound than what we might think. So if a man feels disrespected, this is amazing. I think this was Kevin Lehman, jotted down, who actually said this one. A man who feels disrespected, check this out, will not be able to love you the way you want to be loved. So I talked with some guys after church last week, nursing their wounds, because I did beat them up. No, they weren't upset about anything. But we talked a little bit about, some people will put sexual fulfillment at the top, number one on a husband's list. I know you're surprised by that. I know that surprises you. But I forget who I was talking with, but we sort of agreed that I think respect or admiration probably ranks higher for man, because even if a wife is meeting those physical desires that her husband has, he might not be so, I'm good if he doesn't feel admired by her. So it depends on the book that you read. Petty put this as number one. All 3 or 4 books, they're all in different orders, right? But I think somebody had this as number one. Plus the Bible, says, husbands, love your wives, wives, respect your husbands. So a man who feels disrespected will not be able to love you the way that you want to be loved. Ugh. Do you see how a man who might not naturally be affectionate needs to learn how to give his wife the affection that she needs? He needs to meet that need in her life. That's a need that she has. His job is to meet it. Maybe I'll do weddings differently from now on. Like when we do the vows, I'll be like, these are the things that I promise I'm going to do. I am going to give you all the affection that you need. And if I don't, the pastor's number is included. We can, they will call us in and yell at you or whatever. Right? I would do that, but all right. So interesting though, if he gives her affection, that really is like loving her as he loves himself. Like, that works out well for him, right? And in the same way, if a wife can learn to at least recognize, like, there's a couple things. Maybe she doesn't know admiration is so high unless to respect her. And he probably doesn't know that either. And then there's the differences in communication, and they are great. Again, through no fault of her own, she may be communicating with the way he's interpreting it as she doesn't approve of me. And there was a list, I think this was the Mars and Venus book. There was a list of, here's what the wife says, and here's how he feels. And she, I can't remember exactly the wording, but like with everything that she said in these different scenarios, almost every time the answer was, she doesn't approve of me. She feels she made a mistake. That wasn't one example, that was example number 2. And I mean, they were almost exactly the same wording. Not to be redundant, he switched some words around a little bit. But it's the same idea. It was, so I think one example was he was late. She said, how could you do this to me? How could you be so late? Why are you always late? And then he begins to explain. Come on, ladies. He begins to explain all the reasons why you shouldn't be upset. Anybody know what I'm talking about? I have much to say on that, but no time. So he begins to explain, and then she says, hey, you know what? Well, she says whatever she says. And then what he hears is, there are no good reasons for why this happened. Because he's good at giving reasons, right? What he hears is, there are no good reasons. Therefore, you're the problem, right? It's not traffic or bad cell reception. He hears, there are no reasons that justify what this thing that you did that disappointed or angered or hurt me, wounded me. There are no excuses, and I understand. Guys, be careful. You start listening to the list of excuses. Read the room, man. Figure out, maybe now's not the time to do that. And there's a reason why he does that. But he very often feels like it is a wholehearted disapproval of who he is as a person. So you don't have to like the behavior. That's fine that you didn't call first. It's fine. Like, you don't have to like it, and you can, not that you can't address it or anything. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that how he interprets it or how he hears it is very often hurtful to him. And I say the word hurtful because guys don't like to, hey, are you easily hurt and wounded? No. Guess what? Yes, you are. We are. We act tough, and the acting tough a lot, not every time. Sometimes, like me, we are actually tough, but sometimes it's putting the wall up, and it's a defense mechanism because we are vulnerable. So, all right, moving on. All right. So the story about the knight illustrates that within every man is a knight in shining armor. Although a man may appreciate caring and assistance, sometimes too much of it will lessen his confidence or turn him off. Turn off. We think about that's a sexual thing. It just means it doesn't. We're not talking about turned off sexually. We're talking about just off, like he's done. I'm just going to put my head down, mind my own business, try to stay out of trouble, and get through this marriage, and then someday I'll be dead and it will be over. It was way funnier than what I intended it to be. That sort of is, and I will tell you, I have heard that a lot. Like a lot. Like you would be shocked how many Christian men said, I just try to shut my mouth, try to stay out of trouble. Good luck. I just try to, because I tried that too, and I eventually opened my mouth. It doesn't work for me anymore. But I've heard that a lot. So when this says turn him off, it's not talking about in the bedroom. It just means he's out, checked out. He does not. I'll fulfill my duties. I'll bring you the paycheck. I'll take out the trash or whatever it is that I'm expecting. But there's a disconnect. Like the switch is off. I'm not doing it if I can't win. There's not a chance I can succeed. I'm just checking out. We won't ask for a show of hands. Some of you ladies have witnessed the checking out. You know what the checking out looks like. All right? And sometimes that's a normal thing to do. But when this says it will lessen his confidence or turn him off, it just means the switch is flipped. He doesn't have the confidence, and so he just kind of waiting out, just kind of hanging out, not waiting for it all to be over, but I'm just going to try not to get in trouble, right? Not when we're talking about marriage, that's not what we want for the marriage. That's not what we're talking about. When I don't give marriage advice and say, hey guys, I encourage you to shut your mouth, put your head down, try to stay out of trouble. Disconnect it, put up a wall, and try to not hurt her, but at least prevent her from hurting you. Not good marriage advice. That is not my advice. All right, so I'm going to read that again. The story of the knight illustrates that within every man is a knight in shining armor. Although a man may appreciate caring and assistance sometimes, which we need it, I love it. Too much will lessen his confidence. This is so powerful and so important, and turn him off. When he feels trusted, another one of these words that's kind of wrapped up in this same idea. Trust is a big deal. I would encourage you. The story of the knight, you saw what happens. He began to lose confidence. He hesitated. And she was trying to be helpful. God loved her. She was trying to be helpful. But it caused him to doubt his own abilities. And then even when he was successful, when he couldn't completely own it, like I'm successful because I did exactly what my wife told me to do, how did he feel for the princess? How did he feel? He was depressed, didn't shine his armor. He needs to confidently jump out there and be the hero and win and get your approval. And you know what? Also, let him stack the dishes in the dishwasher any way he wants. Nothing? Nobody? I just fixed half of your marital battles right there. I mean, God, dude, the stuff has to get clean, though. And baby, it has to get clean. You can't just go, he said I could put it in, let me put it in however I want. And then it comes out with the stuff still on it. You did it wrong, right? You have to get the food off. That's disgusting. But if the food's coming off, I need a dishwasher manual. This would settle an argument, a disagreement. It would be fun. It would be fun with that. We need a dishwasher manual that says, here's how you stack the dishes, or, you know what, who cares? Like this Whirlpool's like, we don't really care. Just throw them in there. Do whatever you want to. All right. I'll just end a lot of stuff. All right. I'm just gonna plow through this. I'm gonna lose you. All right. So listen. When he feels trusted, so think of the knight. She caused him to second guess. All right. He felt like she would trust him. All right. When he feels trusted, he is able to tap into his noble part of himself. He becomes more caring and he's trusted. So I'm trying to abbreviate that. I mean, there's a lot here, but if he doesn't feel you trust him, he just checks out. And trust me, she's going to tell me how to do it anyway. She's going to tell me I did it the wrong way anyway. Why am I gonna make a decision? Why am I gonna take a chance? Why am I gonna take a lead? Why am I gonna do that? I'm just gonna be criticized for it, and we'll end up doing it her way anyways, because he's a nice guy. He does it her way, right? And he doesn't get to feel that he is the hero in the knight in shining armor. And I know. He's gonna do some weird things. And the ladies are like, man, I've got to remember that sermon. Oh my gosh, I gotta remember that sermon. What did he talk about? I can't remember. Oh, it's freaking me out. It's stressing me out. I can't believe he's doing that the way that he's doing that. Use the noose. Use the poison. Oh my gosh. But when he feels trusted, he's able to tap into the noble. Do you want a noble? Do you want the knight shining armor or not? He's able to tap into the noble part of himself. He becomes more caring when he doesn't feel trusted. This is important. When he doesn't feel trusted, he loses some of his aliveness and energy. And after a while, here's why this is important. After a while, he can stop caring. He doesn't feel, if he can't be trusted, that's something that's important to him. If he can't be trusted, after a while, he stops caring. You don't trust me. I said that to Renee before. Just trust me. Just trust me. And then I did it, and it failed. But she approved of me, and she didn't say, you're a loser, and I wish I had somebody else. All right. So, when a man feels criticized, it causes him to become defensive. Right? And you've never experienced that. I know I'm saying this to you, and you're like, I have no idea what he's talking about. I cannot wrap my mind around what this guy's talking about. I asked my wife, so I read something yesterday, and I said, Renee, I read this thing, I'm reading stuff about, relationship stuff, and I was reading about guys. Last week, I was studying the ladies, and I was reading this, and is this true? And I asked her questions. And I said, that's really hard for me to wrap my mind. Dude, I've never heard this. This is crazy to me. It's not what I'm talking about this morning. But it was weird. Super useful at no time. And she gave an example, and then I asked a question, and she's like, I'm not attacking you. And I said, I know you're not attacking me. And she said, well, it feels like maybe you're being defensive. I said, no, you'll know when I'm defensive because my voice goes up like this. She kind of smiled. It does. And then she goes, why are you yelling at me? I'm like, I'm not yelling! I've noticed that after all these years of marriage, like when I'm defensive, my voice goes up like this. This sounds like yelling. Guys, is this yelling? This isn't yelling in the eyes. And then like, this is, I'm terrified and I don't know what to say next. But it sounds like I'm yelling at you, but really I'm terrified. All right. So the defensive guy, these guys must be onto something when he says, all right. Okay, so here's the point. We have to finish this. Sorry. The responsibility of men. Listen, one of these authors went on to say that when he meets her needs, which is more than just last week, but last week pretty important. You can start there. When he meets her needs, admiration will naturally flow from her. So you know what I heard? He's got to start. That's what I heard. I read it. Actually, I came across it more than once. Therefore, her admiration depends on his ability to meet her basic marital needs. So it will naturally flow out of her. I think so much of women. I think a woman can do it. I think a woman can figure out a way to admire her husband, even if he's not meeting her needs. I think women can do that, probably. But according to these authors, it will be more natural and happen automatically if he's meeting her needs first. Let's just not expect more of women than like, women they're so amazing. Let's just let them do it and we won't still do anything. Right? If her needs are being met, admiration will naturally flow. All right, this is important. I just got to read this. Sorry, I'm so sorry, but I can't leave you hanging. Don't fake it. Never fake your admiration. By simply saying flattering words to your husband, you can do more harm than good. You have to value, listen to this, praise, and it must genuinely reflect your feelings. I can hear the ladies, well, then we are at an impasse. Just kidding. I guess there's no hope for us. So I want you to understand, just using flattering words can do more harm than good. We don't figure out much, but we can figure that out. Like we know when that's happening. And so, just quickly, I'm looking up, getting the notes, but just quickly, you can find something that's praiseworthy. You can find, and so it's got to be genuine. If he does anything, if he does the dumbest, smallest thing that you're like, well, it's about darn time. It's been 2 decades, and finally he put his socks in the hamper, you know, or whatever it is. Like, make a big stinking deal about that. Like, what a hero you are! That sounds too much. but you get the idea, right? You can find something noble and something to encourage him with that is genuine. You might have to sit down and make a list. You know, I don't know, but it needs to be genuine. But what I want you to hear is that he can be crushed and he checks out, he tunes out, he shuts down, he stops caring for the people that he loves. And that's huge. And that if you want him to love you the way you really want him to love you, then he needs respect and admiration and approval. So it's good for the ladies to do that. So by all means, find some way to praise him. All right. You can disagree with behavior. I already said this. But that doesn't mean that you disapprove of who he is as a person. I think that's enough for you. I think your brain is full. I addressed this. What if there's nothing to respect? All right. I think I touched on that. All right. How are we doing? We okay?
Yeah.
Everybody's okay? All right. Is it tough that I had to beat up on the ladies? Ladies, do you feel beat up? All right, good. I don't want to beat up on anybody. I don't know. I'd love for your comments later to tell me, like, I really didn't know that was that important to a guy. Like, I thought it was just that one thing. I thought it was just that one thing, and then ESPN. I thought that was the 2 things that it was interesting. Okay. Let's go to the Lord in prayer, and then we'll draw a name. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the institution of marriage that is the foundation of a healthy society. Lord, I want to lift up the husbands and wives in the place. Lord, it's like I do find it so fascinating that, as we already mentioned, we're enough alike that, we're the same, species, but we're different enough to be mysterious. Lord, I just pray that if anyone's struggling in these, and we all struggle in these areas, like at some point, hopefully it's not every day for years and years and years, but this is natural things that men and women deal with. That's why there are books written about it. And so, Lord, I just pray that you'd help us remember some of these things. This isn't the totality of every good piece of conceivable good marriage advice that we can offer, but Lord, this is a great start. I pray that you, by your Spirit, Holy Spirit, remind us to husbands to be affectionate and demonstrate affection towards their wives and their children. The children get older and they resent it, but do it anyways. It'll be fun. Lord, I just pray that you would help drop into that by your Spirit you remind wives that this he really can be that knight in shining armor. And maybe she thinks that, but very often he's not getting it. He doesn't. That's not the message that he's getting. Again, through no fault of her own, it's communication differences. Lord, I just pray that you remind us of these things and that you help us with these things, because good, godly, strong, healthy families make for a better world. And so, Lord God, we thank you for helping us in this and helping us to have. Remember how and to take action to make our spouse more fulfilled, satisfied, and happier spouse. Lord, we ask this morning in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. All right, so I'm going to mix the names up. All right. And let's see.
Practice draw.
We do a fake draw? We do practice?
Yeah.
Should we announce the practice draw?
Yeah.
We'll just let the guys answer. Let's let the Chris Father's Day. All guys? Should I do a fake one? And then throw it back in and they don't get anything?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh. See your name out.
All right. It's a church. They're so nice. They don't want to, but I have to do it just for me. Oh, interesting. Okay. All right. That's just for me because I don't want anybody's feelings.
Oh, nice.
Hey, hold on. Don't mute me. Don't revolt on me. All right.
Pigs.
Okay. All right. Yes, fixed. All right. We good one? All right. Should we have? All right, Nikki. You've been so pleasant here this morning. Give us a name. Oh,
Yeah, there you go. 7 or 8 of them will do.
Robert Chapin. Hey, look here. All right. What do you say? Ace or Ace or Tractor Supply? Ace. All right. Did I drop the receipt for that? Maybe that Go on. What day?
Oh, the first Friday of every month.
Did you know that?
No.
That's it. Yeah.
Find out.
All right. Hey, congratulations. All right, all right, Jim. One of the Jims. Let's do this. It's your fault, not mine. Maybe you'll pick the name that I picked earlier.
Jay Fishman.
Is that
That's what
Jay Fitchman? That's you? Yeah. What's Fitchman?
You never have a ridiculous one in there because I never get
There you go, Mark Knopfler. Mark Knopfler, guitar player and singer for Dire Straits. That was an eye trivia game. Why couldn't I play? All right. Let's have I guess I played. Let's have the worship team come on back up. We'll close with a song. Sorry I kept you here, guys, but we'll thank you later. No, you won't, because you'll forget, because you're a guy, but still. I'm looking out for you. I hope you have a great